The demo today is going to be about bringing life and personality to your characters, posing, expression, and story. Basically visually describing who your character is. The goal is to, you want to explain who your character is without uttering one word, like complete visual exploration. You should think about it that, a lot of times when there's a director, it's recording, when there's a director or audience or whoever looking at your work, a lot of times you're not there, So you need to be able to communicate, the attitude and behavior and the actual role and personality of your character visually. You have to say it in pictures and not words. So a lot of that begins with up here, okay? With understanding who your character really is. That's the real deal, like right off the bat. Is really understanding the personality and the story behind the character and really who that character is. You want to think of story first and foremost, and this will influence your actual design, not just the expression, not just the expression and the posing. It's the most vital part of helping to create the personality in a visual form is really understanding the narrative, not an actual structured story, but the idea of who the character is. Okay. So for this demo, I kind of just created this character, simple shaped. And right off the bat, I wanted to create a pack rat. He's a hoarder, okay? So right after that, understanding, what a hoarder is, somebody who gathers, collects things through time, tons of newspapers, whatever there is, anything they get their hands on, they just hoard. They cannot discard anything. And it's actually, it's definitely a disorder that people go through. So I decided to create this guy who's a hoarder, and it actually help dictate the design, So, his what is yeah, he's a hoarder, but his who is also that he's obsessed with everything, and he's always on the hunt, and he's always looking for something new. So this really started to influence what my design was. So I'm just going to talk through this, just this initial shape sketch that I did before I go into doing some posing and stuff, okay? So the bell shape idea was actually I wanted to create something where it was more like a kind of a big jacket, right? So I kept the costume kind of simple. If you notice, things like his sleeves are very large and big, so he can hide things up there, right? So it's almost like a magician hiding things within his sleeve, right? So there's a method behind my madness for that. So there's a reason for designing it that way, okay? And although he looks kind of large, I actually was thinking that he's a little bit more of kind of a block shaped on the inside. And this is actually all this room in this coat is here to actually collect things when he's out and about. That's why the coat is so large where it is. I even created the buttons a certain way. You can even look up to the buttons. Instead of an initial snap, I made them hooks. So he can easily unhook and get out of it, right off the bat. If there's something he sees or he quickly has to hide something from someone, he could be actually stealing and not collecting, and it's for the ease of latching up his coat back up again to hide whatever he's grabbed, or just to quickly gather something off the street or out of a cave or wherever he is, and actually be able to kind of get the coat open, to store what he's got and clasp it back together. The high collar goes into that, the idea of hiding as well, being able to camouflage all of his items and his obsessions, his obsessions with possessions for that matter. Even looking up at, I added a little prop here. It's kind of his little staff with this little kind of, I did it as kind of a wicker basket with a lock on it. So right off the bat, you know that there are certain things that could be inside this basket, that could be inside there, that are personal to him. Maybe some things that he actually, in his, hoarding behavior, he collects things that are very valuable. Maybe he loves, rare candle wax, and that's very personal to him. It's whatever the value is that you want to place on it. So that's why I kind of went ahead with this basket and even put a lock on it. The lock tells a lot about it than just having a basket, right? The lock says it's very personal, private. He wants to keep it safe and secure, okay? I gave him the shape on the head was actually just to keep it quite simple, because it's for the sake that there's going to be a lot of props he's going to be dealing with. So I want to keep it quite appealing and simple, not to distract from everything else. I did things like the bags under the eyes, because it's like he's losing sleep almost, because he's out there collecting so many things at once, right? He's obsessed and has a desire, and kind of like an obsessive compulsive disorder, I guess you could say, to find as many things as possible. Life's too short to sleep. He's out there chasing things down, right? And also it's just that bug-eyed kind of, that bug-eyed look is what I wanted to give him, and also that idea of that he's not one who sleeps very often because of his obsession and his compulsion of hoarding and the pack rat idea. So that's basically, the idea behind the design, where we're at. And I wanted to give him kind of he's kind of innocent, but kind of like there's a little bit of cynicism at the same time. He's not someone to fear, but he's definitely would, sell you out for a new piece of belly lint if it was something else for him to collect, okay? So, once again, thinking of the story first, that really influenced the design of this character. And I kept it very simple shaped, as I can kind of take you through the passes of word expression and bring out the personality, right? So let's see, first, I started thinking about, well, what would his reaction be, when he's actually found something of worth, right? So you can see it right here. How happy would he be? Right? So I started to think about that. And it's a lot within the posing, right? Now it's in red at first, so it's going to be kind of hard to... But hard to actually see, but I'm going to go over it in a black Prismacolor pencil. And I'm more worried about personality here, not keeping it definitely on model. This design is not set in stone, okay? But once again, it's always all pointing back to drawing is more thinking than actual drawing. Let's get some of that big, almost cynical laughter. Got myself some new gold coins and rare stamps. Stolen from old man Withers down the street when he was asleep in his rocking chair. Let's kind of see where we're at here. So I started thinking about, okay, well, when someone laughs and they're so caught up in a joyous occasion, joyous moment, you always see them typically kind of holding their belly. It's like they're laughing so hard. And that's definitely a sign of that sort of behavior, right? That sort of action. Well, I thought, what about taking it a little further to really communicate what he's happy and, enjoying so much, is that he has a new collection of crazy obsessed possessions. So you can feel like he's holding his coat and there's actually bulges coming out. Just trying to get it kind of right here. One thing I was also doing with the design is I actually also made his ears, not to go back to a different point, I made his ears a little bit bigger and pointier at the top, because maybe he actually has very acute hearing. He can hear when a brand new sewing needle has dropped, So I want to make it feel like there's something new kept in his jacket.